Recent events at the Hongda Island complex in Busan, South Korea, have been nothing short of eerie. That day, the security guard, Old Park, was patrolling the corridors when he heard strange moans and groans coming from apartment 302. Curiosity piqued. He moved closer to listen intently. Suddenly, a ghost burst through the wall, startling Old Park into unconsciousness. At that moment, a long-legged lady returned home and stumbled upon Old Park's contorted face. Terrified, she dashed into apartment 302 for help. She walked in on a couple about to get intimate. The man was shocked but knew rescue was crucial. Hee-soo, seeing Old Park lying on the floor and without a moment to spare, began to administer mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Thankfully, Park was revived. The next day, the class president, tasked with counting the remaining residents for relocation, noticed that aside from the couple in 302, the girl Ji-yeon from 402 had not moved and hadn't been seen for days. Consequently, the class president went upstairs to check on the situation. The class president, attempting to remain calm, informed Ji-yeon that she must vacate the premises immediately. Ji-yeon scoffed, declaring she wouldn't budge. The class president challenged her to come out. Ji-yeon retorted, daring her to come in. And so, accepting the challenge, the class president walked into the apartment.
그냥 가실게요.
The class president ran out of the apartment, panicked and scared. The Songtae couple watched, utterly bewildered. Then the police arrived, responding to the class president's call, initially thinking it was a simple case of persuading a holdout tenant.
저희 뭐 다른 뜻이 있는 건 아니고요. 저희가 신고받으면 의뢰하는 절차라서요. 그만 끝나요.
남의 일에 신경 끄세요.
But when conventional police methods failed to sway Ji-yeon, the SWAT team was dispatched. The scene that unfolded was, to put it mildly, a disaster.
당장 안 벗어! 왜들 저래?
뭐 하는 거냐? 동작이 왜 이래?
대원들이 춤을 추는데요?
저게 작전이네.
야, 무슨 일이야? 범인이 나타난 거야?
The police chief was livid, determined to resolve the issue with the woman in 402 that very night. His subordinates suggested calling the legendary Exorcist from Busan. Given their lack of options, the chief scoffed at the idea, incredulous that in the year 2024, people still believed in such superstitious nonsense. The Exorcist, after having a bowl of noodles at a noodle shop, determines that there's something unclean about the apartment complex, particularly with Hee-soo. He boldly commands the mischievous spirit to reveal itself and attaches a talisman to Hee-soo, but the initial attempt fails. Undeterred, they approach apartment 402 and affix talismans to the door, seemingly sealing the building. Inside, they find Ji-yeon immobilized and discover her true form. She had died next to the bathtub, and her body had decayed. In attempting to affix the protective charm to the corpse, they encounter difficulties.
잠깐만요, 이거. 물러가라. 이놈 봐라. 넌 왜 이슬리에 남아서 사람을 힘들게 하느냐?
In the end, the master's skill prevailed, and he managed to affix the talisman to Ji-yeon's true form. However, Ji-yeon's spirit reveals itself, insisting it cannot leave until another person arrives. In a rage, it punches the piano, causing knives and daggers to shake, terrifying the master and his disciple. The next moment, they find themselves in the hospital. Unable to speak clearly, the disciple interprets the master's warning about a dangerous man who will enter apartment 402. This man is Ji Yeon's boyfriend, Dong Seok, a wealthy and handsome individual. He arrives at Hee-soo's shop after the building is sealed. Upon seeing the young handsome man, Hee-soo's face immediately flushed with color. Hee-soo was smitten with Dong Seok, especially since Song-taek was hospitalized. She had been feeling very lonely. Despite Song-taek's hospitalization, she did not forget to be affectionate. But when Hee-soo heard Dong Seok mention that his friend was staying in room 406, she was taken aback and instantly lost interest. She said helplessly that Ji Yeon was still living there, and she was the only one left in the entire building. As if waiting for someone, Dong Seok rushes into the building to find Ji Yeon, and they spend a passionate night together.
잠깐만, 지연아. 오해를 했었어. 그만 때려.
The next morning, when Dong Seok went downstairs to buy breakfast, Hee-soo noticed that he had bruises on his face. Thus, she decided to reveal the truth that Ji Yeon was actually a ghost. Surprisingly, Dong Seok doesn't react strongly and seems unafraid. As to why this is happening, we'll understand as we continue to watch. The scene shifts back to the hospital where Song-taek is preparing to be discharged. As he was preparing to leave, the exorcist stopped him and asked, "Has your wife been particularly lustful recently?" At this, Song-taek breaks down in tears, impressed by the master's ability to see through his distress. Then the two join hands in prayer. Meanwhile, at the police station, they receive a package from Hee-soo. It contains items left behind by a young, handsome man who went straight into room 402 and stayed for a night without taking his luggage. The police find Dong Seok's ID in the suitcase and are shocked to discover that Dong Seok died in a car accident the previous week. With this revelation, it's understood that both members of the couple are spirits, a truly star-crossed pair. The greatest pain in the world, after all, is to be separated by death. It turns out that Dong Seok had an accident shortly after arriving in the United States. As his soul left his body, he saw himself being resuscitated. Before he could make sense of it, the Grim Reaper from the US was eager to take him to fulfill his quota. Dong Seok was not happy. If he had to go, he insisted on going with the Korean Grim Reaper. In the end, he hitched a ride on a favorable wind, as if on an airplane, and fled back to Korea. Returning to the side of his beloved became his final obsession. On Ji Yeon's side, on the evening of proposal, her stepfather, a man given to drinking, gambling, and crime, demanded money from Ji Yeon. When she refused, he took out his anger on her, and in the ensuing struggle, he fell down the stairs and died on the spot. Ji Yeon was unfortunately stabbed and collapsed beside the bathtub. Dong Seok was outside knocking but never broke down the door. Had he broken in, Ji Yeon might have had a chance to live. But it was all too late. Their heartfelt confession leads to mutual regret and they embrace, crying together. Their story even brings tears to the eyes of the two Grim Reapers from different countries. But the story doesn't end there. The Master, in an effort to salvage his reputation, gears up with new equipment and returns to room 406, ready for a final confrontation with Ji Yeon. He begins by throwing a bowl of chicken blood at her, causing her to smoke and nearly disappear. At the critical moment, Dong Seok appeared, ready to strangle the exorcist, but the Grim Reaper stopped Dong Seok, explaining that it wasn't the exorcist's power at play, but rather that Ji Yeon's time was nearly up. She must leave soon or lose her chance at heaven. At that moment, the Master has an epiphany and proposes a solution that could allow the couple to enter heaven together, a sensational soul wedding. And so, with the Master and his team's organization, the wedding goes off without a hitch. After exchanging rings and consummating their union, Ji Yeon and Dong Seok ascend to heaven, where they begin their unabashedly joyful afterlife. And that's where the story comes to a close. If you enjoyed this, remember to like and follow for more, and don't miss our next episode.